Good morning, everybody. John Sfiocchi here for GAI Insights with our Gen AI news briefing. Lots going on in terms of activity in the market and great new stuff, everything from gene editing to new announcements by DataBricks. I'll turn it over to David DeLallo.
All right. Yeah, we got a nice set of articles, very diverse topics. I think we're going to dive right in on the first one, which I think is the most interesting, related to using generative AI for gene editing. So let me bring Ankaj to the stage. All right, kick us off, Ankaj.
Thanks, David. So the first one that we have for today is from the world of CRISPR, so where generative AI is making strides in gene editing.
All right, Adam, what did you think about this one?
You know, I'm struggling as always, especially in the medical arena. We just keep having these absolutely mind-blowing, like planet-changing breakthroughs that I feel like we should be calling optional because there's nothing we can do with them as a busy executive, right? I mean, you could make the case of, as we have before, that it's a good one to be aware of because it's going to be talked about. So debatably, it could be important for that reason. But, you know, look, basically what they're doing in the same way that you can train a GPT to spit out a chat based on training it on all these previous conversations, they're basically training this thing to create new synthetic, like microscopic biological mechanisms by training it on all the ones that have already been observed, and then it's coming up with ones that have never existed before. So it's pretty incredible, mind-blowing stuff. And I can see where for fighting illness, disease, all sorts of things, this is going to make a massive difference very quickly. But I hesitate to say it's optional news.
Yeah, I hear you. John, what did you think? I think you had a different take.
Yeah, I'd say at least important, maybe essential, in terms of, and I hear you, but this is such, I mean, we're all carbon-based life forms here, you know, and this is, I think, of interest to everybody, you know, both as a human and then from a strategic standpoint, these folks at Profluent have not only trained the model, but they've open sourced their findings. They haven't open sourced the model. So, I mean, the implications for, you know, industries, there are going to be a lot of industries where you're going to have people creating, you know, value algorithms, mechanisms, portable intelligence, and they're going to choose where on the, you know, kind of property ownership, you know, who's going to extract the value and how you're going to play that. It's going to be, I mean, every market from an intelligence standpoint might start looking like a razor blade market, but one person's razor is another's blade, you know, and that's going to get really funky. So I would say as a human, it's essential reading. As a strategic model for other industries, for this industry, it's absolutely essential. And for other industries, I'd say it's important. So 2 E's plus an I equals an E.
All right, we've got some very wildly different perspectives here. Who's going to weigh in and tip the scales?
Well, David, I'm just happy that John was happy with the reporter here. John's grading has been so strict on the reporters recently.
Yeah, but it was a good job.
Yeah, I would vote for important for 2 reasons as well. One is that I think this is another example of executives who have to justify budgets of show an example of how this pushing the envelope of so many areas we thought was really complex, and it may have applications in how we're thinking about agricultural and farming and other kind of basic industries that have a lot of combinatorial research to be done.
Yeah, I was on the border between optional and important. I'm with Adam because it's a mind-blowing potential, but it's not there yet. So, but I'm okay with going important on this one because
sorry, Rita. Okay, go ahead.
Because it's even though it's really very researchy, the bottleneck, as the article points out, is taking one of those compounds and actually taking it to fruition. But it shows potential to personalize medicine. That's where it's going, to adjusting certain molecules to a class of folks or an individual This is paving the way to get there. So in that sense, it is certainly an important development, and making it open source is also an important development. So it's not a very long read. It might be worth skimming through.
Yeah,
I was just going to say one last thing is that I'm much more worried about artificial life and replicons than I am about AGI. And I define life as something that can harvest energy from its environment and use it to create copies of its coherence over generations. That's my definition of life. And there's biological systems are much better at that than silicon systems right now. So I think this is the real worry, way before AGI.
Totally, I agree.
Yeah, I think we're going to land on important with this one. It's just one that you can't miss, right? You just can't not be aware of it. Whether they read the whole article or not, is up to them. But awareness is important. And every time I read about CRISPR, I keep thinking about superpowers and if we're going to have like real life X-Men at some point down the road.
All right. Can I just say one definition of essential is you must be aware of it, which is what you just said, which would not say important. Okay.
But it's not an essential read. It's
essential osmosis. I want to look at the
news, but you don't have to read it. Right?
It's an essential headline.
What is such a big deal about reading? We all read.
I will point out I do want to point out, as it says there, that although they just published the research, they haven't actually presented the research, and they aren't even going to be doing that till next month. So this won't be the last we hear of this either. So maybe we leave it at important for now.
All right, John. We're going to go important, but I hear you. Next one.
The next one is from Swiss Re, and it talks about how they have launched Life Guide Scout, which is a GenAI powered underwriting assistant.
Okay, which is like an incredibly long name, so I'm going to ding their branding folks on that one. But John, what did you think?
Yeah, I put this as optional, bordering on important. Life Guide Scout is full platform, does training, helps you in underwriting and so forth. The reinsurers, are trying to influence the market here so that what comes out the other end. For those of you who don't know, right, reinsurance is usually the top layer of risk. So it helps any life insurer or property casualty insurer diversify the risk. And so the reinsurer one of the reinsurers' interests is to have underlying consistency of underwriting variables in the pool of risk underneath when they take over. So let's say Liberty Mutual owns the first 5 billion, Swiss Re owns the next 3 billion if it's a massive disaster or something like that. So it's in their interest to have more standardization down the underwriting stack, which is why it makes sense for them to go into this, as well as client relationships. But I think it's in the stream of things we've talked about, which is information products, companies in the crucible, products and services in the crucible. That is high wins work, high digitization, adding intelligence as a differentiator. And just as we saw with Thomson Reuters. So that's what put it down to optional for me. Certainly important in the insurance business, but I would say optional, but right at the edge.
At the edge. Anyone want to push him over the edge?
No, but everyone's like on the border these last few weeks here, rather than just picking one. But
for somebody who's done a ton of grading, you always end up at the border.
I would say optional. Because even for insurance, it's a topic that it's somewhat esoteric, isn't it, John? So I'm hesitating to say it's important for insurance. So it's probably optional.
Any other thoughts?
Keep driving, David.
I think we're.
I was optional as well, so I'm good with that.
All right, we will go on this side of optional for this one. Akash, cue it up.
Yes. So the next one is from Apple. So seems like Apple acquired a French startup in December which provides AI and computer vision technology.
All right. This is qualifies as old news, but surfaced recently. The article states that the acquisition actually happened in December, but apparently we didn't know that it happened at that point, and we do now. What did you think, Luda?
I rated this news as optional. However, it's interesting because it's giving us a glimpse of what Apple is thinking about. So the technology here, I'm sorry, the technology here is that the company can scan the environment from the sensors and make it into data. So nothing is stored other than sort of ones and zeros, right? And from that, it could see the case they used, like in the metro stations where the people were wearing masks, and sort of things like that. So Apple can use it for many things as a platform piece. So it gives them ammunition to deliver advanced applications with this type of technology. So it's important for them, but optional in general sense.
Any other thoughts?
I agree. It's optional news. Just as I extrapolate out what this might mean for Apple, the two things that come to mind. One is applications potentially with the Apple Vision Pro or some future version of spatial computing, and that additional intelligence about all of the stuff that you're perceiving in the world around you. And the other is the recent news we covered, might have been a couple of months ago, about almost like the supervisor for iOS that could see what's on your screen, and applying that to LLMs, both of which this fits nicely into. So, I think it's going to be a wait and see kind of thing, but this is a good pickup for them.
Yes, we continue to try to read the tea leaves about what Apple has cooking, and in June, all will be revealed. We're going to have a very special episode that day to crunch what is lining up to be or purported to be a slew of announcements.
Watch OpenAI drop GPT-5 on the same day just to steal the thunder.
Yes, that would be amazing. All right, we'll go with optional for now.
Well, and David, before we move there, I do think, Adam, you raised good points. We've seen that tick for tack in multiple times with OpenAI and others to take thunders away from other competitors. So,
yeah, this one's not on the border for me. This is
squarely optional. All agreed as well. All right, what do we have next on Kaj?
The next one is more of a technical article. So it talks about how we can use FSDP Qdora fine tuning and how it closes the gap between parameter efficient fine tuning and full fine tuning.
Yes, and these authors also believe that this will close the gap between closed source models eventually. Quite a claim. What do we think, Adam?
I think I had trouble digesting everything in this article, honestly. It went pretty deep technically, even for me. But yeah, the TLDR is exactly that, right? It makes it much more efficient to fine tune these models. With the release of Llama 3 recently, which is open weighted, they've obviously gotten, Answer AI has gotten right to work. At the very bottom of this article, you look at the general timeline, and in many ways, they've been anticipating that this would come. And I think it could mean big things down the road for the open source competitive landscape. But I considered this news optional because, I don't know, I'm not quite sure what we do with it at this point.
Yeah, I had to have ChatGPT help me interpret aspects of this model, I will readily admit, and it did a very good job of it. I love that aspect of it.
But other than saying that it makes it more efficient to fine-tune models, what did you really, were you able to pull anything else out of it?
That's it. And there's two different ways to do it. That's what I got out of it. And I think that's all we need to know. We're probably not going to be engaging on in doing this ourselves, but I think others are probably very excited about it. Any other opinions?
Yeah, so it's a technique that substitutes some techniques that are used inside the LLM training. So it wouldn't be visible to anybody, but it's very impressive results. And since it's an open source, right, type of thing for developers who are training LLMs, it's important, but overall you wouldn't ask an executive to read this article. It's really pretty dense. So I agree with optional, but I think it will move the needle in the efficiency of LLMs in the future, because people will start substituting the prior mechanisms for this one.
All right, well, that makes it sound important for the developer audience.
Yeah. I'd give it an important. I like you, Adam. I only grokked some of this article, but I think that the underlying massive model is at 300 billion parameters, and then the ability to get just the general structure of improving the algorithms by selectively using different training techniques to different parts of the model, and the kind of performance that they're getting in very short order, I think is conceptually a really, important thing to be paying attention to. Anyway, and all its implications for energy efficiency and everything else.
Yeah. No, that is true. And that's why I think it's difficult to say, hey, dear executive, read this article. But maybe to highlight it, David, I'm okay with important, and you can highlight it in the, so that you no need to read, but it's
exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's another one of those where we'll give you the headline, but unless you are really wanting to geek out, I wouldn't spend some time on this one. Okay, we're going to move to our friends at DataBricks next. Ankash.
Yeah. The next one is from DataBricks. So they have introduced a data intelligence platform for managing the energy shifts.
Yes. To me, the meat of this article actually came at the end when the short case studies were presented. Otherwise, I kept reading this and saying, why DataBricks? Why is DataBricks better? And I felt like I didn't get the answer until the end of the article. But let's see, this one, John, you are starting us off.
Yeah, I give it an optional, it's a product announcement. It's a very impressive platform. When I was at PwC, we used to do a lot of work in energy and so forth. And, this has a target set of models. This has, great data underneath it and so forth. But, to me, it really didn't, this is all from the vendor side. Really smart, for DataBricks, to vertically, integrate into Power through their data and so forth, because it's kind of cool because, a lot of they'll be serving the utility, but also the data centers, as we'll talk about a little later. The trade-off between and among power and intelligence and bits is going to continue and accelerate as we compute more reality. But I would give it optional.
I mean, one interesting thing was some of these companies are very focused on sustainable supply chains, and I think in this early AI market, I don't think that's going to move the needle, but you can see as this market matures, if there's a toss-up between two vendors, a company leaning towards one that's trying to be more sustainable.
Well, yeah, it might even be availability. I mean, the other thing I thought about making it important because this notion of how the intelligence available in an industry is going to get more and more vertically integrated. As I've said a number of times, I think 24, 25 people are going to pick their lanes in terms of data and intelligence as competitive advantages. And, from my experience before looking at utilities and so forth, I think there's a tremendous amount of reusability of this information because you have people with similar problems in non-competing markets. You know what I mean? So, Boston Edison or whatever it is now, Eversource, doesn't compete, in whatever, they're geographically constrained. I don't want to, that landscape has changed, but there's a lot of, single or, duopoly market structures here that mean that vertical knowledge can be resold to other competitors and non-competing, other providers in non-competing markets. So from a DataBricks standpoint, this makes a ton of sense.
So let me make a case for important in at least the energy industry, and the article, the name of the article is actually getting there. It's a paradigm shift. So what they've done, to your point, John, it's a vertically integrated platform. They put a lot of information from the energy, like performance monitoring of the systems out there, the assets monitoring. There's lots of unstructured data in there and usable data. So they put it into a system with all these pieces, how you can integrate the unstructured and structured data, get insights from it, integrate it with other applications. So it's not that other systems don't exist, they do, but this is a paradigm shift, especially for the energy players. So I kind of think they should know about it, but for them it's important, I think. Maybe not as important for others, but for energy system people, it's important.
Yeah, and I think actually any company that's in an industry with physical assets, large physical assets, would want to be aware of some of the capabilities. Like I said, of course, sort of farther down in the article where it has little blurbs on each client and what they're using it for, just to be aware of like the possibilities that are out there for them. But yeah, general audience, probably not. So we'll flag for our energy and asset heavy industry folks that this is important, and maybe for others not so much.
I think it's important. I'll push for important just for energy actually, but overall. So this is their intelligence platform for energy, right? Their intelligence platform, we're going to see a lot more from them.
All right, I muted you, Adam, because you were.
We're seeing a lot more from them.
I'm trying to mute you, Adam, because you're breaking up. So we're gonna go on to the next one, but we'll bring you back in when your reception comes back. And the next article is also on energy, but quite different. Ankaj?
Yes. So the next one is from Sam Altman. So he has invested in an energy startup which is focused on AI data centers.
All right, Luda.
Yeah. I rated it as optional. I know a bit about this space in trying to get materials to save heat and then converting the heat into electricity and stuff like that. So it is a very tall order. And a lot of these companies fail. We've invested in a number. So I just think this is, I'm skeptical, but it is a good challenge that they are undertaking to store the heat and then convert it into electricity. If it works, it can be quite changeful for the industry, but it's optional for me at the moment. Wait and see.
Yes. Any other thoughts on that one? And Adam, you might be back live, so if you wanted to share anything about the last article, feel free at the end of our discussion of this one. Anybody feel anything other than optional on this one? I will take that as a no. Adam, did you have something you wanted to share from the last piece?
Am I coming through all right now?
You seem to be back.
Okay. Yeah, great, thanks. I was gonna push for important on that DataBricks article, not just for energy, but this DataBricks data intelligence platform. This is the first we're hearing of a vertical use case of it, but they're going to be applying this all over the place. I was actually doing a find through some of our news, and just in the last 3 months, we've had DataBricks acquiring Lilac, We've had DataBricks investing in Mistral. We've had DataBricks acquiring the natural language notebook Einblink. And we've had DataBricks launching their DBRX to challenge big tech. So to see all of that coming together and them actually starting to demonstrate how powerfully they can vertically integrate, DataBricks, their data intelligence platform for energy, is just the first of many I think we're going to see. And it's important for people to understand, like, there's not much stopping them from literally once a week announcing another vertical, right? Because they've got the technology in place now.
Really well said, Adam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now that you can hear me.
Before we got little pieces of robot Adam. All right. I'm not sure if we're convinced to move that article to important. Shall we?
Important.
All right. Sorry, Ankash, we're crashing into your slide that you're probably just about to show. So we'll change DataBricks to important. And do you have our final tally? Where did he go? Ankash disappeared. Okay. So summary would be.
Yeah, sorry. No.
Oh, he's back.
David, just bringing up the summary. It
Okay.
was changing the rating of the DataBricks one.
Okay, yeah, sorry, we threw a little monkey wrench in there for you. Okay, so CRISPR, important. It was borderline essential. We'll definitely make sure we note it. New way to fine tune, noting as important, but don't have to read. DataBricks, we have just elevated to important after a couple impassioned pleas to do so. And the rest we will have as optional. Do we have any news, John or Paul, that we want to share?
No, we had a really good learning lab last night, debriefing on some of the insights from the AI conference last week, and that should be posted in the next day or two. And continue to have a very positive afterglow in that kind of stunning event.
Yeah, can I just say one finding from that big discussion, which is that you got a number of people who are really into, the field. Some of them entrepreneurs, some of them scientists, some of them, in large corporations. And I would say the one message I heard last night is that not only is this Gen AI wave real, it's happening fast, and it's surprising even the people who are deep into it, with the speed, the breadth, and the practicality of it. That's, anyway, breathtaking.
Yeah. And John, I think one thing I really took away, we're doing this show every day. We're reading it. We're talking to customers. So we're kind of aware of it. When we are physically in this environment with 1,500 people seeing all these things, it's just this visceral reminder of the intensity of the possibility frontier, how fast it's like expanding universe. It's expanding faster every day. It's breathtaking.
We just think about what we're talking about today. Talking about gene editing, power recreation, and one of the wealthiest guys, the most influential guys in the world, investing in a combination of fission and fusion to vertically integrate. It's like, give me a break,
Wait till tomorrow.
I know, it's like every day we're just topped up, right? Yeah. Very exciting time to be in this space, and frankly, just to be on this earth. So make sure you join us each day, folks, so you keep up with all of these fast-moving trends. Thank you all for joining. We love having you in the comments, Metamona and others. Thanks for sharing your insights throughout the show, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.